Yeah, man. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you doing? I'm doing fine. And
Doing
you?
great, and thank you so much for joining us today. And I'm sorry for starting it a bit late, but we are all set. So, welcome to BI Consulting Pro, and we are really excited to have a session with you today. So, let's start with your introduction.
Yeah, thanks for having me in the first place. A little bit of introduction. Well, I will keep it small. I'm coming from the Netherlands. My name is Armand. I'm in the BI industry for a short time, I think 4 years from now. Before that, I was more a web developer for 20 plus years. And yeah, so I'm the person who's on the Power BI train right now, working with an amazing community. I think the biggest and the best community out there. And I'm also involved in a little bit the production and the future of Power BI and data visualization. Yeah, that's
That sounds
amazing.
great. Yeah,
Yeah, it
but
is.
thank you so much for your all the contribution towards the community because I was following your all the articles and where you also publish, some of the contents or the LinkedIn, and that was quite interesting. And I believe the audience can also, can learn something from you and your articles. And I'm sure they are a big admirer of you. So, what are we gonna do today? So, what are you have something for audience?
Well, what I want to try to talk with you about is also about the from people to learn from Power BI design. So from tips from my side, and not from the visual part, but more I want to give them some tips about okay, when you start working with Power BI or a report, yeah, what are just some simple tips and tricks to work on and start with instead of crazy things that I think that's an important one. So can I just tell you some tips and tricks? Is that okay?
Yes, yes, of course. And I want to be this session more or like, interactive session. People have already started commenting over here. So we are going to take all the questions later at the end towards this session. But
Great.
first, hand over to you. So
I don't have
let's
a
get
slide.
started.
It's just more from me to the community. I think starting with Power BI, the first thing what I think is very important, and that's what I do often, is I never create directly into Power BI. For me, that's a heavy one because it isn't a design tool. So people are start working in Power BI with shapes and all sorts of things, and then it
Yeah,
ends up with a non-consistent kind of report. So what
yeah,
I do is working with tools like Figma or Canva or PowerPoint, and just make it a simple design and a more structure for yourself. You know, at the end, okay, I've got some visualizations, I've got a logo, I got some information to tell the audience. I think
yeah.
it's better and a quick win to start, for example, in PowerPoint. And then you can say, okay, where do I put my visualizations and my logo instead of just put them on a canvas?
Yeah.
That's even a part I think very difficult.
Indeed, indeed. So this is what actually happens. So most of the time, when people are getting some requirements, their manager or their business is asking them to something to create, they just directly started working on that without even realizing. Okay, first they need to brainstorm on the requirement, and then they have to prepare a sketch separately. They can use pen or paper. They can use, now we have so many tools over there. For example, Canva, or even there are so many, even use the PPT over there, for example PowerPoint. That's going to help
Yeah.
them, and then share with their end users that okay, this is what you are looking for. Because in my case personally, I used to ask them first before even deciding myself anything, because end user or the business is the main who are going to consume that one. If they have something in their mind, please share with us so that we can prepare according to that, rather than going too much to and fro and then working again on. But that's a great tip,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah. I think it's also what you do is talking with the business, but also when you sketch something or show something to your audience, then you can manage expectations instead of telling them a lot of things. And at the end, they say, wow, is this my report? Or so take them with you in that process and manage the expectations. Some things you cannot build within Power BI. Tell them that certain things are not possible. That's really an important rule. instead of going all the way tweaking every day. Your maintenance will grow, your bookmark system will explode. Just tell them,
Yeah.
okay, if I do this, then your performance will be spot on. If I
Yeah.
do it in another way, just let them think, let them decide. Say, okay, if I chose for bookmarks, then I've got a lot of pain, and I know I have pain. And if that's the thing you do throughout the process, then they, yeah, will be more your stakeholder, and that's an important one. Instead of just publish it, saying, okay, this is your report, have fun with it. Yeah, and that's what I do, sharing it with the business. Also, the concepts, they can be just quick and dirty on a white paper, saying, okay, you've got too much slicer, for example. Okay, if I put them here, we got a problem now. Tell it.
Yeah.
If you want your slices in this area, or hey, if we put it on a area where Microsoft want them,
Yeah.
your performance will grow, and it will be, yeah, more friendly if you work with colleagues on on one report. And I think that's an important one for the adoption in the data team and in the organization as well. Instead of, yeah, just creating one in your own and then saying, okay, this is what you got, this is your finance report,
Yeah.
and have fun with it. That's
Indeed.
what, yeah, that's a very important one. Also for the experience. Most of
Yeah.
the people think, okay, design is just shadow and rounded corners,
Yeah.
but for me, that's the last one, and it's more important asking, okay, for big corporates, for example, if you want some images, okay, who's the person who can tell me what images they need? Or hey, if you have icons, do you have icons from your corporate brand guide? Or hey, do I need to create myself or download it myself? So also marketing and communication for me is part of that total package.
Yeah.
Because on
Indeed.
that side, the adoption will grow as well. They tell, okay, this is the color palette, that's okay. Or if I have problems with color palettes or with the font, they say, okay, we need that font. I can tell them directly it's not possible. So, hey, we've got some, yeah, choices of 10, just expectations. So that at the end, it's not, oh, is that what it is? Or, okay, I thought it would be Google Fonts and we have our own. Just keep it simple, keep it
Yeah.
small, then
Yeah.
it will grow. And then you can, yeah, based also on the features of Microsoft, yeah, there are things that will come, and then you can say, okay, we got some new features, or hey, instead of, yeah, make it big in the beginning. That's an important one.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
So if we are gonna go, let's say we have the different phases of designing anything in Power BI. Let's suppose some business requirement is that they want to prepare a sales report. And for all those people who are either new or intermediate user of Microsoft Power BI, we are not talking about advanced users because they have already gone through all the phases of it. So according to you, how a guy or a person should actually start their technical development work, for how they can, gather the requirement till the end of the delivery? In your opinion, what would be the best way to complete this journey of, just getting the requirement from the end users to delivering it over there?
Also, in technical perspective of pure on the visual part.
Just a whole process in a way that, okay, somebody is just whole responsible, because generally Power BI are definitely in the enterprise organizations, but still there are lots of people who has to, complete this complete cycle themselves. They are the developer, they are the report designer as well, and they have to do the testing as well. So according to you, what would be the best possible way to tackle this kind of journey?
Well, I think what I normally do when I work with in a team, for example, if you're in a team with project managers as well, he's a big stakeholder in my area. But also the business as well. So what I normally do is talk with the business, and not the complete business, but maybe one or two of the stakeholders or the responsible persons for a team or an area within that business. And what I also do is show them in the stage, not the stage where I'm already into Power BI, but before that, before I develop certain things, show them what the possibilities are, because that is where the business is think about, okay, we all work with our matrices and tables, but I tell them, okay, hold on, if we bring it to the report at the end, We can do also with a certain visualization, or I will bring in just some examples of the decomposition tree, or tell them, okay, in your finance situation, it's better to do it with a certain way. And then what I do is creating a mock-up, tell them, okay, based on your information and the input, and also at the discussions I have with data engineers, saying, okay, this is what we already have in our data management system, or this is what we need to bring in. Just sketch them out. Say, okay, based on the information I've got, the first draw, uh, and I don't touch Power BI at that stage, is a very quick and dirty draw, but they see it more. It will be a live thing, saying, okay, this is our report. This is how you handle. Okay, this is a decomposition tree. How does it work? And then they start thinking, okay, is there a situation or a KPI, or hey, in my flow or my goal, or it can be on a management level, or that this decomposition will do the job for me. And that's what you normally don't see. And then at the end, you always get your matrices and your bar chart and line charts. And that's, yeah, what they say, okay, this is what we had, or hey, this is okay from Excel to Power BI. But I think the added value for me also is, yeah, bringing that information to the end user, so that they are not only happy and saying, okay, it is nice to see, but also, okay, these are the steer, yeah, for me to manage my area, or yeah, that's an important one, that business one. And also talking with the business together with a data analyst or a data engineer, for example.
It is.
And
So
me.
definitely, I completely agree with you. So we are going to explore more design tips. Meanwhile, let's try to take one question.
Yeah,
That is over
sure.
here. So he's asking, hi sir, how much SQL knowledge is required for Power BI developers within 2 to 3 years of experience and in an organization? Do Power BI developers have to handle SQL tasks themselves or SQL team there?
That's a good one. Well, I'm not a SQL person, so I only can answer it by the persons I work with and the persons I cooperate with. And maybe
Yeah.
you can answer it better than me, I think. Maybe you can
Yeah.
start first.
Sure. So let's say SQL is the only language which is basically going to interact with your database. And nowadays, even whether you have structured, unstructured, or even your lake house, you can still use SQL. The technology is evolving. And SQL is going to help you, but it's also, let's say, not really essential that you have to write the SQL codes. In the big organization, generally, the data set is being prepared by the separate team, designing is going to do by the another team, and then you have a Power BI admin, and there's some other guys who's going to publish your report or something. However, I highly recommend you to learn SQL. SQL is the easiest language, to be honest, to learn. I'm also not a fan of, core programming or coding or something like that. But I also learned SQL. I also now know a couple of more languages because with experience you would learn it. But initially, if you are just a Power BI developer, so that's the whole concept of Power BI as a self-service. Without writing any code, you can still do your work. And now, since Microsoft Copilot is there for Power BI, there are ChatGPT, so many other generative AI tools are available. So you can take the advantages of those tools and can write your code. The only question comes, can you understand that code as well? So that's also another challenge. So overall, if you have only 2 to 3 years of experience, it's really not mandatory, but really good to have it. So I recommend you to start learning it if you haven't, and that's going to help you. However, in Power BI, you can still use the interface itself, and then you can do everything. So I have made a couple of videos on Power Query as well, that you can simply use the interface over there, which is a very user-friendly interface, and you don't need to write any code, and still you can perform all the operations over there. In short, good to have. If not have, still you can work with Power BI.
Yeah, that was a great information. That's, yeah, it is.
Yeah, but next question is for you to answer.
Okay.
So that is really important. And it's a good one because it's related to more like design. And the question is Figma. So any Figma guides for getting started? I believe this guy used Figma for designing the reports. and something like that. It's a tool that people generally use for the design collaboration, etc. And person is asking any guide or any suggestions that you have for the person. Or let's suppose someone has to design a Power BI report. Which tool, according to you, is the best, and which is, of course, free of cost? Because we, as a developer, if we don't have access to those highly paying tools, how we can start it?
Yeah. Well, for me, I think I was at the past a real Adobe fan, but now working with Power BI and keep things very simple, I sleep and work with Figma. It's very easy to, it's free. The starting is free, so you can start tomorrow. And it's very simple. It's simpler than PowerPoint, a lot simpler, easier. Um, so start with it. Even when you don't be creative or say, okay, I'm just real into mathematics and I just want to bring data and but still you can create your own lines, create your own canvas in a real quick manner. That's what the and you can collaborate with someone if you work together. It is an online or offline. It's both. They're connected, so you can do it on your desktop or do it in the works. How do you call it, in the area, in the SaaS? Yeah, it's amazing. And if you're starting with one thing, you can replicate it. If you start new reports, things, you don't have to start all over from scratch. The things you create are 50% of the basics you need from that spot in the future. For me, as a real Power BI designer, Figma has theming inside of it for me. I can just switch 6 colors and then your complete report will switch. So Figma can be really basic to real advanced, but the basics I think is why millions of people are directly step into Figma. It's
Yeah,
easy to
indeed.
export, certain things, backgrounds or icons, or it's really easy.
Indeed. And for you, everyone, if you would like to receive more tips and tricks regarding Microsoft Power BI and how to design your Power BI dashboard or report, please connect with Armand. He's also available over LinkedIn. He posts so many nice blogs, and I was very much impressed with your one of the dashboard about the dental related, if I'm not mistaken it. Oh my God, that was so amazing. And thank you so much. So guys, you would be impressed when you would look at his articles or the work that he's doing. And I'm sure that's going to help you out in your career journey. So,
Yeah,
Arman,
thanks.
moving forward, what can be the another tip in terms of designing a Power BI report? Because in my experience, people generally, put lots of visualization on the same report, and then they are not even, paying attention and coming with an excuse. Oh, business wants everything in one page, and even most of the people doesn't know the difference between a report and a dashboard. So that's another kind of, confusion that goes around the organization. So, what would
Yeah.
you like to tell people about it?
Well, when you look at the theory and the all the investigations that were done by Tableau or different kind of data visualization tool, you have to know that people can just read and relate in their minds maybe 5, 6 visualizations. So if you
Yeah.
put 12 on them, that will be more clutter and more brain damage than saying, okay, I got 2 big ones with a lot of information with some filters or dynamic things that will switch between years or 12 months rolling kind of situations, then say, okay, this is a copied one with that's the basics, I think. And create, and if you look on Wikipedia, for example, about the DAR principles that are really, I've DAR is dashboard analysis reporting. So from the top to the bottom, start with your KPIs. In the second layer, the second page, you have your analysis kind of situation with your charts and your lines and your insights. And at the lowest one, then you've got your matrices. And what I see is starting with matrices because it's Excel and it's trusting, it's okay. But the DAR is it's also a tip. Look at the DAR principles on Wikipedia, and it doesn't matter if you work with, doesn't matter what kind of data viz tool. Well, that's what I see often. And the business also likes it at the end, saying, okay, this is always my overview with KPIs. Then I've got my analysis kind of area where I can analyze and deep dive or drill through. And at the end, okay, if everything's there on the row or on the column wise, this is my matrix. And so that's a tip also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So going towards this direction of the data visualization, the next part we are going to discuss about that how do you decide which type of chart or graph to use for specific data sets. And this is very important because we are trying to tell a story using data, and most of the people are not aware about that. So what can you tell people regarding the same?
So if you not really into data viz and more coming from a technical background and know how to model your data, and at the end you have to do something on the front end part, showing information to your end user, there are quite a lot of areas where you can just download, for example, a sort of a white paper saying, okay, if I have relations or I need certain information, what are the basic visualizations that I can bring in? But at the end, and that's what I also see, you're related to the ones that are in your tool. So I can say, okay, you need a sort of a plot that's not in Power BI, but you cannot use them if you don't download it, but so you have to stick to your core visuals in the first place. But you have to know and there is a sheet, if you look at Google, for example, the data visualization chart poster.
Yeah.
And also, what I read the last year was a book from Nick Desparats. It's called Best Practices, I think. It is an amazing book. Yeah, more practical charts. That's a real kind of, for me, also real basics, but also, okay, if I need a pie chart, what's the best way to show it instead of, okay, pie chart is not okay, and there are quite a lot of bar chart variants or types, or okay, that book is really plain simple for but also for the advanced users, but also for the beginners, also with a lot of screenshots. So that's a book for me that was really an eye opener. Even I'm really into Power BI data viz, still the basics are really important. So maybe that book and and that poster will help you quite a lot.
Indeed, definitely. And I also found one very nice, interactive image over here that you can use it if you really would like to. So I'm going to share with you guys a bit later. But
Great.
that's very important part that we should know that which visualization is best for what kind of use. For example, you can use the line chart when your time series is going to come into the picture, but that should also your continuous time series, not like only month wise you can use it. If it's a month, better use the bar chart over there. Then you have to also check that if you are mixing up more than two different types of dimensions or the, let's say, measures into the one, then you probably have to use something different over there. For example, stack chart or 100% stack chart, something like that. Some cases users also gets confused whether to use the pie chart or there is something other. So one very important part over here that you need to know how many levels deep dive you have to do over there. If you have simple, let's say, your different countries and you want to see the revenues by country, then definitely pie chart can be helpful. It's not that pie chart is bad. You may have heard that, okay, don't use the pie chart. No, pie chart is there for a reason and you can use it. But if you have to go deep dive into that one, that means you have to go to drill down over there, then definitely you should use something else rather than the pie chart. So every visualization has its own purpose that you should focus on. And meanwhile, I'll bring you that one image that I found on Reddit to use it. I'm going to display over here, but then we are going to take another question so that I get some time to bring that over here. So the other question is, how do you handle large data sets to ensure smooth report functionality? And it's regarding the display or the design, because sometimes what happens, Power BI is not able to show and user wants to put millions of the records of the data over there. So Armand, what would be your best practice over there? What would you like to suggest to the developers who are developing the reports?
I think you have to think about two things. Is first of all the preparation of that big data set. What you also can look at, for example, are techniques like hybrid tables. I don't know if you know them, saying, okay, is it really necessary in my report to show, for example, the last 6 years? Or do I need to say, okay, I've got my static data from the last 6 years that's already there, and I have some reloads from today or the last month. But regarding report and the front end, you have to think about when you start creating data visualizations. And for example, if you bring in some KPIs in your report, then you have to know, okay, I've got some choices between visualizations. And for example, the new card visual in Power BI is built with a different technique. And also you can bring in, for example, 25 different measures, but in the technique, it is one Power Query, for example. It's be driven by one Power Query. So if you have the old school KPIs still on your report, and you have some layers with some targets in it, and you have to know from technical and also performance wise, you have to know, okay, this is a performance stopper, or how do you call that? Because every single value is a one Power Query that will push the information to it. So if you use the old ones, even for the for sure for the large data sets, that performance is a very important one. So think about the usage of that data visualization. For example, the new card visual, but also slicers. Slicers on the canvas act like a visual. So they build up one by one, waiting for each other to be really loaded. And that's what you see on the performance analyzer. When you said, okay, just show my report, and you click on the performance analyzer, it will run one by one. First on the top left, it will wait. The second one will wait. And what you see is that there will be a value in the other. So you have a DEX and you have an other. That other is really big because your KPIs, for example, are 20 or 30 Power Queries that will load into that KPIs. So that will be, for example, a good one to think about. And also your slicers. Microsoft created a panel on the right side, and I know it is limited right now, but it will be development in the coming year, that slicer panel will be more a default one because it is pre-cached, preloaded, it is really fast instead of on the canvas. So you have to rethink also about that. Great.
Yeah, indeed. So this is one of the type of data visualization charts, guys. You can use it, and which depicts, okay, high levelly, like if you are using a line chart, what does that mean? If you are using a bar chart, what does it mean? And not only that, there's one very important slide as well, this one. So this is going to give you more clear picture. If you will simply Google that what kind of visualization to use, what kind of data to display, you are going to find a tons of material over there. And if you are connected with us, if you have subscribed our channel, then also on our community page on YouTube, we generally share this kind of information, which can be very helpful for you. Or you can also follow us on LinkedIn, whether it's me or Armand, you would find a lots of material this kind of. So we highly encouraged you to please start looking into this one. It's an art when you display data over a screen. It's not about just putting some numbers, some KPIs, or any kind of visualization over there. This is an art, and you need to understand it. And there is also a rule of 10 seconds. That rule simply says that if you can read a slide or a report within 10 seconds, you can get the output out of that. That means it's been designed carefully and in a well mannered. Otherwise, if you are thinking too much to grasp what's going on, then it doesn't mean anything. So data visualization, self-service, everything around the BI or data and analytics, it's all about how you are getting information, how you are making data-driven decisions. But if you're going to put so many visualization or so complex calculation in one page, then probably you're never going to make it out of it, and you're going to get stressed out, and you're going to say, what is it? How to get the information out of it? So it's really, really important. Now we are going to take a couple of more comments over there. So Armand, so let's take it. So there's one after this Figma one. Arpan is asking, is it necessary to learn M code for Power BI? Would you like to answer this?
Is it for me or for you?
You can also answer it. So it's okay. You give your opinion, and then probably I can tell.
For me, no. but that's more. I'm really a front end Power BI developer.
Yeah.
Um, but I think if I look at the persons I work with, still I don't think that 30% of them know anything about M
Yeah.
because it's
So, yeah, indeed. I'll explain my perspective, Arpan, for this one, and specifically for you. It totally depends whether you are new to Power BI or what kind of experience do you have or what kind of work actually you do. For example, Armand, he's a front end developer. So he designed the report, how the user experience should be over there. But he's not very much concerned about how the data has been transformed at the back end. So if you are the person who has to create a semantic model, which was previously known as data sets, and how you are transforming the data, then yes, this is important that you should understand it and you should know about that one. However, if you are working in an enterprise organization where, for example, I'm working, and in my best practice, it's already there that you should not do any data transformation inside Microsoft Power BI desktop. Everything should be done at the source. That means your data warehouse designer, data lakehouse designer, or maybe your, let's say, operational data warehouse, something, data mart designer they are working on, they have to do that. So there should be no transformation. So if there is no transformation, then no need for code. But there are certain cases, for example, you are working in a small organization where you really don't have your data warehouse or let's say data lake house, something, and then you have to transform your data. Then you have two options. Either you can use any scripting language, for example, Python, to do the data transformation. You can also use SQL if you have a database. But in most of the cases, people think, okay, we are going to do that in Power BI. Power BI, still you can do that without learning it because as you interact with your interface, you can do that. However, those people who are really having a lot of experience in this field, like for example, more than 6, 7 years, they would like to play with the data. They would like to combine multiple steps, which ideally you cannot combine through the your interface, user interface that's over there. So in that case, yes, it's needed, but it's more like learning a shortcut or just to go through the interface. It's more like the same way. So 90% of the time, you don't need to look towards the AMP code, but 10% who are really expert, and if you have really a lot of experience, then you need to. So I believe we both answered your question, and we are going to move to the next one, which is by Osama Ahmed Khan, and he's asking from where we can find remote jobs as a Power BI developer with no experience. Well, quite difficult to answer, to be honest, but yes, there are certain. Yeah, and why it's difficult, let me tell you. First of all, you have to build your own portfolio so that people can get to know that you can do some work. If people doesn't know and you say that you are just a fresher, you have no experience doesn't count. Just you have to work in a company, but if you are working yourself as well, you are creating your own report, dashboard, etc., and you have spent a lot of time in that, that's also an experience in my perspective. So you have to tell them, hey, this is my portfolio, whether it's on LinkedIn or GitHub, or you have created your own website or maybe some other website. So you have to first work on yourself, and then once you have experience, then you may go to Upwork, or maybe you can find some remote work over the LinkedIn, etc. So that's going to help you out over there. So the way you can do it, it's the way. And when we talked about the key roles that you are asking in your question, what are the key roles of a Power BI developer? It's been divided into several parts. Like Armand is working over here as a front end developer, where he just focused on the designing. But there is also a part where there is a guy who worked at the back end who designed the semantic model. Then there is a Power BI admin part. Also, there is the Power BI solution architect part. There can be some guy who just work on the transformation of the data, so that can be the other part. It totally depends. In small organization, one person is handling everything, whether it's a publishing of the report, doing Power BI admin stuff, monitoring capacities over there, then he's just transforming the data, etc. However, three main roles, of course, are going to be there. The very first would be the role of a Power BI admin, then report designer, and the data set builder role. So these are the main important ones that we should focus on. And apart from that, it depends on the organization. There can be, some lead who's leading the program for data transformation or adoption, or there can be data stewards. There can be the guy who work as a business analyst. So it totally depends. But if you would like to know more, I have already created one series on this Power BI adoption, which you can find on our YouTube channel. So please go through that, have a look, and that's gonna solve your queries probably. Let's move forward, and I'm gonna bring one more question over here, Armand. So we are already running out of time, but let's see this question as well, and it's regarding the same. How do you incorporate interactive elements such as slicers drill through effectively? Because there's always a question that whether should we use more towards the slicers or should we go towards the filter pane in a Power BI report design part. So what would you like to tell about the same?
Yeah, what I said earlier, if you use a lot of slicers, then you have to know what it does with your performance. So what I normally do when I start from scratch and an organization that is not really into normally Power BI or a data viz environment, more from Excel, or then I start to learn, say, okay, based on the basics, we've got our slices on the right side. Because performance-wise, it's the best way, and you can maintain it more friendly in the future. That's the start. I think what I do right now, normally you have a lot of drill throughs and drill downs and that sort of systems that can be really hard to handle and to create, for example. So what you can do, for example, replace some of them with tooltips. That's a really good one. Say, okay, if you want that second level of information that you can also bring without a drill through, then you go to your next stage. Maybe you can show it on the tooltip area, for example, or a different techniques where you can switch certain information instead of going with drill throughs. Because I think the interaction part is really basic, I think, in this tool. Not that interactive like you want, or maybe you wish it will be. So I keep it plain and simple.
Great. Thank you so much. So this is going to be the last question that we are going to bring for today's session. Maybe next time we are going to invite you again and you can share some more details about some different topics. Custom visualization. This is a very important part that when we use it. And because in Power BI, by default, there's only certain visualization, but there are many visualization which is available in the app source or where we can get the custom visualizations. So what are the best practices that you would like to recommend that people should use the custom visualization? Also, in the same way, that would you recommend people to customize the themes and the branding in Power BI, or they should go with the default one? What are your thoughts about it?
Well, in the first one, that custom visuals is if you can get the things out of your core visuals, and with, I think, the new features, new techniques, new mindset of certain things, you can bring more with the core visuals now than 1 or 2 years ago. But still, if you need the how do you call them, the custom visuals, for me it was important, for example, to use Deneb. Why Deneb? Because I can create without any code, any technique, can create the visual I want. And in the second one, I just learn also about how a visual is built up technically. So I understand how Instagram is built, and it's very easy to build things that aren't in Power BI, instead of just grab one from the source saying, okay, this is my ultimate pie chart. Because what you do, and some of them are okay, but you bring in a new application within your Power BI, and you don't know at the end, okay, are there resources that will be out of my area? Is it a live connection for serial numbers? Or so most of the time, just rethink about, okay, what do I need? Can I build them myself? Also to learn and bring your own expertise to a higher level, instead of just smash it out of the app source saying, okay, this is a new pie chart and this is what I need. And at the end, when things become slower, nobody is looking at that visual anymore, but they also go to your data engineer saying, okay, too much data. So rethink about it, that if you bring in one, it should be certified in the first way.
Yes.
But also think about it if you, for example, start building with Denap. Denap is, I think it's amazing. It has the same basics and techniques like the normal Power BI core visuals. Um, so that's what I want to advise. And on the second one, how do you approach custom themes and branding? Well, branding in your data viz normally is a no-go area because you rebuild your own color palette, and I know everybody loves it with tools like coolers, and you can create easy simple ones, but at the end, if you have a stack bar chart and the colors are not that okay, not that much contrast, too much branding, uh, I talk with the business, and when I create certain things for them, they say, okay, Armand, it's great, but I don't want to look at, for example, Vodafone Red 8 hours a day. I just want the insights. I want the outliers to show. I want the targets to shine, but
Yeah,
not my core corporates inside data viz. That themes are built 6 7 years, also for people with colorblind situations, contrast blindness. So just start with the basics. And if you need brand colors in your report, bring them in another way, in a
yeah,
bar on the side, just some small things that are nice to have, and say, okay, this is, instead of bring them into your visualizations.
indeed. And really, thank you so much for answering this. And here are my 2 cents as well on this one. The very first, if you want to use the custom visualization, as Armand mentioned, it should be certified. And I'll tell you why it's important to be certified. The reason is that you don't want to leak your data. Data leakage can be very harmful for your organization. Also, there can be certain other security concerns. All those certified visuals are already being tested out or verified in terms of the performance, data leakage, or any kind of security bugs, and that they have been approved by Microsoft. So they are safe to use. And as a principle, you should only use the certified visualization. Please do not use the uncertified one unless you are already sure about them that you can use it. Now, coming to the part of the themes and all, in my opinion as well, simple is the best. So try to keep it simple and focus on the information rather than the aesthetic. Aesthetic wise, it's good. You have your logo, more than enough, or the font size. But if you are gonna go too much customizations, I have seen there are, a lot of videos on YouTube and the articles. People are playing with that one. In one visualization, they are putting, like, for example, a KPI chart, 10 more into this one, then combining it and saying, okay, use it and all. But I'm working since the inception of Microsoft Power BI. And trust me, guys, when you actually work on Power BI and you deliver the solution, nobody wants to look your those fancy one where you are putting the gif or something else, or some photo is popping out or something. Those, for the people as a business, they seem like very childish work, let's say like that, because they want to get the insights of your data, they want to understand the data, they want to make a decision out of that. Logos and all, yes, they work nice, as people look at the websites, but it's not a website, it's a reporting tool. You have to understand that point. So a static website is always something different, where you go, you check some of the dashboard that's been maybe created in .NET or C# or something else. But Power BI is a self-service reporting tool which you are using on the same time that there's a huge amount of data. You are ingesting that over there, and then you are trying to find out some of the key insights out of that, your KPIs, etc. So in short, try to make it simple, follow the best practices. If you don't know what are the best practices, please leave the comment in the comment section, and we are going to help you out about that one too. And also there are Microsoft pages already. So if you are really interested, please let us know. We would also provide you the link over there. Now we are running out of time, so we are going to take just a couple of questions, and then let's see what are these. So there's a person who's asking this. Let me see if we have covered this. What are the best practices and tips for better performance of a dashboard report, and when we are using more visuals and huge amount of data? Well, I'll go with this one. So whenever we having a huge amount of data, the very first is that you have to do a lot of operation at the background. The very basic thing is that try to push all the transformations as much as possible towards your source. That can be your data warehouse, data lake, or something else. You have to focus on the data modeling. There should not be many-to-many relationship or bidirectional or something like that, unless until it's very necessary. When you do this, then third part comes in the DEX calculation. So your calculation should be optimized. And now the fourth and the main important part, how you are going to check it. Well, whenever you design your report, like as Armand already mentioned, that your report should not contain more than 5-6 visualization, because I'm sure you are also going to use then slicers, some of the slicers or logo, etc. Remember, every element count as a visualization over there, whether you are putting an image over there, a text box over there or something. So if I combine everything, it should not be more than 10. So that should be the hard rule over there. If you feel that you have to involve a lot of visualization or information in one page, try to separate it into multiple pages and then link it using the slicer is there now, which can, help you to navigate the pages, or you can just use, drill through operation over there or something like that. Now you have to also use performance analyzer, which is going to give you a very high level that where the bottleneck is there. So when you go through the performance analyzer, you run it, then you would see whether it's your visualization, which is taking a lot of time, or it's your DEX query. And then DEX query, you can also sort it out with the help of DEX Studio. There's also DEX optimization tool if your organization allow us to use it. We have used it, but honestly speaking, we didn't find it much useful. The best way is to use the DEX Studio, and you should know how to learn the DEX Studio, and that is comes where advanced level of your expertise. So that's very important. So these are a couple of things that you can do if you want more. So you can follow us and you would get more videos on that, which are going to help you out, or probably a next session where we can talk about that one. Now we are going to take another question from Elena Penete. So Armand, it's for you. So see, it's your name. I cannot help with that. So Elena is a big fan of yours. What tool do you use to create these amazing custom visuals? See, I told you, your visualizations are really nice. As the one for KitKat, Rolex, and the one for the teeth report. See, I was not wrong. People are really admiring your work over there. So
I
here you go.
just, yeah, I think what's important is that you have to know the techniques behind it. So, for example, know the techniques like base 64, and I have a PDF on my LinkedIn how you can use that. So, a sort of a script to create an image. Also, SVG techniques. So, most of the times I use the core visuals. If I don't use it, for example, with KitKat, then I use Deneb. It's simple, it's plain, it's easy, it's from scratch to something you like in sometimes a couple of minutes. And at the end, it creates the same technique for the normal bar chart. So that's, yeah, start learning Deneb. So, start learning more about data viz, about bringing information to the report. And then if you know that, you can create everything you want without real advanced techniques. I don't use that techniques often. If you know SVG a little bit, but Deneb will help you. That's my advice.
Great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And like we mentioned earlier, try to keep it as simple as you can, but focus
Yeah.
more on the information that you are getting. And
Yeah.
just have a look how you can put the minimum number of visualization, but still can get the maximum information out of that. That should be the goal over there.
Exactly.
And with that said, we have spent a lot of time, and thank you so much, Armand, for coming over here on BI Consulting Pro, sharing your all the knowledge over there. And I'm really looking forward to have more sessions with you in the future.
It will be great. For sure. And thank you for sharing your knowledge with me and the audience, and yeah, the great Poria community. I really
Great.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks to you also.
Great.
Great.
Always welcome. So, guys, if you would like to know more from us, please leave your comment in the comment section. Also, I'm going to forward those comments to Armand. He can reply on that. If you have some more questions from him or from me, please feel free to do that. And also, we would like to highly encourage you to follow Armand on YouTube. I'm not sure, Armand, you have YouTube, but
Yeah. I
if
have.
you okay, so please do mention it over here. I would like to, bring it over here. and also follow us for more updates and exciting news regarding Microsoft Power BI, Microsoft Fabric, or Azure, and much more. We are going to see you soon in our next stream live service, where we are going to have someone who can help you more in your day-to-day work. Till then, guys, keep exploring, keep contributing, and keep working as usual the way you are, and keep yourself safe and healthy. See you over there in our next stream. Right? Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye-bye.